What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another proxy making tutorial. Today we have got a beautiful piece, Mind's Desire by Paquette. This was back in the From the Vault lore set, I believe back in, I want to say 2016, somewhere around there. Some beautiful artwork by Adam. Really excited to jump into this one, so let's go ahead and jump in right now. Alright, so we are in Photoshop here with the artwork. Again, I always pull the artwork for the cards from Scryfall. There's a number of reasons to do that, but essentially they just have very high-res images that you can pull with PNG already attached, so it's naturally transparent. You don't have the white corners that I know a lot of people hate and that kind of thing. And again, we have this beautiful Mind's Desire by Adam here in that From the Vault set. I absolutely love the artwork on this one. We're going to do our best to really highlight that, and as always, we are going to start with the frame. So I do kind of want to reverse out all this text, get rid of these bumps here, and actually, because this is a newer frame, we do have that little foil stamp there at the bottom that we're going to have to deal with as well. So let's go ahead and jump in. Okay, well, first things first, as always, I like to go ahead and make a copy of the original art. You can go ahead and turn that bottom layer off there, and essentially we'll be using that later to reverse out the text. But first things first, as always, we're going to get rid of this bump. So my little trick for doing this, essentially you just select a piece of the frame that you do want, hit Command J or Control J, depending on if you're on Mac or PC, and just drag that selection down. And essentially that just gives you a nice even line on both sides. Now, we do have just a little bit of visual kind of discrepancies that I do not like. And so what I tend to do is go ahead and apply a little layer mask here, get yourself a brush. You can size it up a little bit, but you want the hardness crucially to be all the way at 0, and that's going to give you a nice feathered edge. Make sure your flow is at 100% here, and we may even just increase the size slightly, and you see where that little bit of a line is. We're just going to swipe right across there and get rid of that. And what this does essentially is it just really nicely blends the two images that you have created on top of each other to essentially make it really nice and easy. Now, I know that the artwork in the middle looks terrible at the moment. That's okay. Right now we are just focused on the frame. So now that we have got those two selections, I like to merge these down into a single layer. It just kind of makes things a little bit easier, honestly. And then the next step is actually to reverse out this huge kind of messy looking image. So we're going to use the rectangular selection tool. We're going to come through, and don't worry about that little foil stamp at the bottom. Like I said, we will be worrying about that next, but the idea is you want to get as close as you can to that edge, select it, and then mask it. Now it's going to give you this as the selection. That's okay. All you have to do is hit invert, and that's going to bring this selection up. And now, like I said, that last little piece is going to be editing that mask to essentially clean up this little area. So we're going to come back to the brush tool. Make sure your foreground color here is the white color. And in this case, you do want the hardness all the way up to 100 because we do want that nice clean line. And I'm actually going to overshoot a little bit and then reduce back down, so you'll notice we've got some of the original image, that kind of white reddish color there, and that's okay. What we can do is just go in, zoom in just a little bit further, whoops, and we can essentially just run our brush right over that line. And if it doesn't look perfect, that's okay. We'll be able to see later exactly how it looks and be able to clean that up as needed. But that is essentially the frame completed. Okay, so the next step is actually just to go ahead and place the artwork in here. Now again, I usually try and take a very high-res image, whether that be from Google or wherever. Obviously, Adam is the original creator of this artwork. I did not create it. I do not claim that. So we're just here to highlight that amazing artwork. So let's go ahead and place that in there, and then we'll start working on the text as well. Okay, so first things first, we're going to go ahead and drag in our amazing image. Again, Adam did a phenomenal job with this one. Make sure those transform tools are there, and we're just going to stretch it up a little bit. And again, this is where you really don't want a very low res image. If you do, it's going to get very blurry very quickly. Obviously, it is sitting above our actual frame layer at this point, so all you've got to do is drag it down, and there you go. Look at that beautiful artwork. Absolutely stunning. It honestly fits in the frame, I think, quite nicely as is. There's a little bit of cleanup to do down here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I might also add just some black lines on either side here, just to make sure that the frame is exactly the way we want it to look overall. Okay, so as you can see, I went ahead and cleaned up the frame just a little bit, and I also applied a black line to either side of the frame. There was one on the right side. There wasn't really one showing up on the left side because, again, that all comes from making that initial rectangular selection. If you can get all of it cropped out, that's fine. If you can't, this is a nice way to do it. You could have also very easily just masked out that line the same as we did on the bottom, and that would have worked just fine as well, but I actually kind of like the framing of the black lines. I used a 2-pixel black line there, but you can play around with it, of course, if you're doing your own and kind of try and figure out exactly what works for you. But at this point, the last step is actually to do the text side of it. And remember, in the initial step, we actually decided to go ahead and copy the original artwork, which is all the way down at the bottom of our artwork. So we do have it here. And essentially, we're going to make a selection of this text, color overlay onto the text, and then give it a drop shadow to give it that little bit of depth from the artwork. So let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, so step one is to use the polygon lasso tool and essentially just be able to select out just the text that we want. We don't want the rest of the frame or anything like that. We just want the rules text, and this is really just for the sake of utilitarianism. Being able to utilize the card is always very helpful. And so we're going to make sure that anybody who does end up using this card, if they do down the road, they can know what it does without having to look it up at every single step. So here we have made that selection. You just go ahead, click that mask tool, and essentially it's just going to cover up all of the rest of the frame. Now, the next step is actually to get rid of the background. Of course, we don't want that in there. To do so, you do have to turn visibility off on all other layers because we're going to be using the color range tool to actually select this. Now, the best way I have found to do it is select shadows from the selection panel. This is essentially going to select all the darkest parts of the image. It's showing us the entire image here because, again, we've got it masked out. We're not going to see it on the back, but you can play around with these sliders here just a bit. Essentially, anything in white is what will be selected. Now, obviously, we will really only have to look at this smaller area. You really want to make sure you fine-tune this selection and make sure that you're not getting much of the background, at least as best as possible. So we'll go ahead, we are okay with that. If we turn this back on, we can see the background's not too bad. We don't see a whole lot of it there, but obviously the text itself looks pretty terrible right now. So what we're gonna do is go to the effects panel, color overlay, selecting white as our color here, which is gonna give it that little bit of contrast. Now, it's not 100% perfect, and so what we're gonna do on top of that is go to effects and hit drop shadow. And what I like to do is make sure that it's coming from the light source is coming from, you know, roughly the top left and shooting down kind of this way. I like a distance of 2 pixels and actually don't use the spread or size sliders very often on these because you really just want that slight reversal on the drop shadow. Nothing too crazy. It just gives it, again, a little bit more depth so you can read it out. And you can see the difference here. That's without, that's with it. So you can really start to see, especially down here, where that really makes a huge difference. And that's it, guys. This is the entire proxy done, again, featuring that beautiful artwork by Adam. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you do have a card that you would love to see proxied, or if you have a frame idea that you would like us to try in one of these videos, I would be absolutely happy to give that a shot. It seems like you guys really enjoy these videos. They're really fun to do as well. And so do expect a good bit more of these down the road. But thank you so much, and thank you to Adam again, of course, for creating this amazing piece of work. I'll see you guys in the next one.